My first and my last reaction, indeed, just before the Congress, until I got here, in the room of the Congress, was that I thought it wouldn't happen.
I was both very excited and very skeptical. Excited because the idea seemed to me enormously important. Skeptical because stereotypes are so profound in both communities of the other, each community imagining that the other basically is hostile towards it and does not really want peace, that to be able to get people out of their little world and to encounter the other is not simple.
Although I'm part of the editorial committee that has prepared the Congress, I think this idea is definitely crazy for its hope, its highness and its messianism.
I'm extremely excited at the quality of the Jewish representation here, especially from Israel, where we have a spectrum from ultra-Orthodox into the religious nationalist, and many, I would say the most of the Israeli rabbis here, official rabbis, have never been in any interreligious encounter of any kind, so that's very significant. And the Muslim representation is geographically amazing, from a very wide spectrum.
Nous avons eu raison.
We've been right to bet on the will of everybody, imams, rabbis, commissions members, to make it possible to dialogue, to realize that religious people have something wonderful to give. That's the real possibility to go about peace and brotherhood. It's time to do it now.
Réellement de parler de paix et de fraternité. C'est maintenant le moment.
A rabbi and an imam together, we make peace. That's not an event. 50 imams and 50 rabbis together, we decide to make peace, we decide to tell that their respective religions are not religions of violence and hate, and that there is no division between them. That is an event. An event even qualified of historic. Nowadays, religion is associated with integrism, and peace in the Middle East is long to come. And here, religious men decide to tell about what can make them closer between themselves and their communities for a better world. A role oftenly left down, but recovered today.
I think that the religious leaders have enormous influence on their believers, much more than a politician. And therefore, when these people are coming together and to see not just the quality, but the quantity, so many rabbis and imams came from all over the world, and under one goal and one aim, to have peace together, to speak, to have a dialogue.
But we have to take our responsibilities. It means we cannot expect others to change unless we change. We mean imams and rabbis. Imams and rabbis are teachers. They are the guide. They are the helpful people who are knowledgeable people of their own scriptures. It is their duty to stand up against their own extremists. It is their duty to educate their own community for working together for common good, which we, in Muslim point of view, we call it khair. Because Islam is not against anything, anybody. It is to create better society with working together, and that only will come when we start talking.
And today they're not 50, but 150 rabbis and imams, all together, coming from about 20 countries, coming to tell about this will of unity, this will of peace, of working for peace, and in particular, coming to tell that any kind of violence, destruction in the name of God, is an outlaw action, and this may be a way to fight against integrism, terror, any extremism that maintains source of divisions. Religion and extremism that leads to violence is a paradox, but a reality as well. Islamists that have launched terror all over the world, before they kill someone they say Allahu Akbar, God is high. What does it mean? God is high and I'm higher than him. God has created the man, I'm killing him. So why calling upon God? To insult him? To tell him, come and see what I'm doing of your creation? This cannot be a religion.
Based on Islamic understanding, there should be absolutely no conflict whatsoever based on faith.
There is a term about war in each religion. Jews talk about milchemet mitzvah, a war that it is a mitzvah to be done because of a religious order, an obligation. Arabs talk about jihad, and Christians talk about crusades. And religions, unfortunately, during history, have been principal causes of wars.
Very unfortunately, while so many wrong deeds have been done in the world and is being done in the world in the name of faith, there are not so many voices by the authorities, by religious authorities condemning all of these actions.
L'Islam, come il cristianesimo, è cattolico nel senso etimologico del termine.
Islam, like Christianism, is Catholic in the etymologic meaning of the word. That means it concerns anyone who wants to accept it without imposing it or doing proselytism, and, as we have said here, without any mixing of the traditions. Each one must maintain its religious identity. Actually, a rabbi is an educator, so we have to work on education. So we have to list all the texts in each of the religions. That creates difficulties for dialogue. From Muslim side, there are texts against Jews. From Jews' side, there are texts not that against Muslims, that against non-Jews people. These texts, as a religious man, I believe in all the texts, but I find interpretations. These are not interpretations that I create myself. There are ways to understand these texts in literature since the Middle Age that allows a mind like me, who wants peace, to live in harmony with texts and with my neighbor. There is an education to peace, an education to brotherhood that we may have left down. Jews, Arabs, peace. That's obviously the Middle East conflict which appears through these words. As a politic conflict, it doesn't appear in the planning of official debates, but it's difficult not to chat about it in corridors. Religious people, with a specific approach, here again, try to bring some elements of solutions. These two communities, if not considered as Israelis from one side and Arabs from the other, but Israelites, which means people following the Jewish religion, and Muslims, there are points of contact. Religions can make things going ahead, moving from justice to peace, to have a pacific neighborhood, with people that have a religion or even don't at all.
Con chi ha una religione e perfino con chi non ce l'ha.
From Jews' side, the most extremists are rabbis, and from Arabs, they are imams. I haven't said the rabbis and the imams, I've well specified some rabbis and some imams, and both, from a side and the other, use their religion to maintain a speech of destruction. So we definitely have to work on it.
Si, au lieu de réfléchir d'un point de vue moral, on essaye d'aborder le niveau éthique.
If, instead of thinking on a moral point of view, we try to have an ethical approach through text, through interpretations, through faith, through historical meeting, and essentially through the miracle of the meeting between rabbis and imams, a friendly meeting, as we are together, we live in the same hotel, we are really in fraternal symbiosis. Maybe that from this point, imams and rabbis that would have lived this experience of friendship will be able to transmit it to the crowd, to the basis, an experience of friendship, and transform the link with the other. It means here for the Arab with the Jew, and for the Jew with the Arab.
Avec l'autre, c'est-à-dire ici avec l'arabe pour le juif et avec le juif pour l'arabe.
The Jew and the Arab living in peace, that may not be impossible, as others, victims of much more tragical situations, have succeeded in doing so, as we are told by this mufti, coming from Rwanda, who reads from its own the Israeli-Arab conflict.
Hutu I'll take them as Arabs or Jews, and Tutsis, I'll take them as Arabs or Jews. So there are two nations from the same father in Rwanda, and the two nations from the same father in Arab world and Israel. So if they can get together and live together as we did in Rwanda, the whole world will experience a wonderful peace. So my experience is just to tell whoever I meet here that we made it in Rwanda. We are living together. It's only 10 years after genocide. Why Israelis and Palestinians can't make it?
And as to confirm these words, a picture in the Congress room just during a break. Two Imams are frantically turning the pages of a book, looking for texts, holy texts maybe, while in the back of the room, rabbis have got together in a common prayer for the afternoon. The Congress room, now without debate, is full of tranquility and spirituality. A break and a feeling of eternity. But this Congress also keeps us surprises and unexpected meetings. This man is Bakshi Doron, former Israeli chief rabbi. He is main speaker during the public session dedicated to points of contacts between Judaism and Islam. The session is closed, the chief rabbi goes to the exit, and in the corridors he meets an Iranian diplomat. They talk to each other. They were born in the same city in Iran. The chief rabbi would like to visit again his native house, but he is Israeli and so cannot freely go to Iran.
He said, I don't need only rabbis.
The diplomat, facing the rabbi, promises him to make all his possible to help him.
I will do it. I have a contact.
Their respective countries don't recognize each other, but the two men haven't waited for to do it between themselves.
Yeah, I will give you my card and everything.
Okay.
So that's the first meeting for all these men, but not for the Jewish and the Muslim peoples. The Jewish culture, the early one, is influenced by Muslim culture. Until our days, Maimonides and Islam, Yehuda Levi and Islam, the Gaon as well. All our liturgy and classic texts from Judaism are influenced by the Arab world. When we study texts of these three wise men, we are obliged each time to get involved in dialogues with Islam. The relevant wise men from Islam, Sharaf Arabi, Al-Ghazali, that is a way of thinking that I have learned through Jewish books. I live in a literal dialogue with Islam, and coming here, I can have a human dialogue.
Jewish people have been discriminated in Europe for centuries, and every time they had problem, who gave them protection? The Muslims gave them protection in Spain, in Egypt, in Turkey, and that is why we have a common history. And why can't we use that common history to use today? And that is very important for us.
From a certain point of view, Islam and Judaism are much more closer than Judaism and Christianism or Islam and Christianism. But today, when we hear about civilizations conflict, that's about Judaism against Islam, which is an historical nonsense. And actually, that's quite naturally that Imams and rabbis, caught back by a hot and tragic worldwide news, decide to get together for 3 minutes of silence in memory of the victims of the tsunami, followed by prayers.
In solidarity with the victims of the tragedies of the tsunamis, and in solidarity with their families and survivors of these tragedies.
الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين נשמות כל אלה שנשטפו ונהרגו ונחנקו במיתות משונות ויד הדין פגעה בם מהאנשים, נשים וטף שנספו באסון הצונאמי.
The main success of the Congress is to have broken fears and false ideas down until creating enthusiasm and emotion. When I've heard at the beginning, really, I was quite skeptical. I was afraid that there wouldn't be any dialogue, but only monologues and vehemence, the ones against the others, that everybody would give his point of view against the other. Fortunately, thanks God, alhamdulillah, I'm really happy to see that things are not like that. There is open mind and respect. The Muslims here, that I've heard here, say that the world don't necessarily need to be under their religion, while in other times Islam tried to conquer the world. Here they say that the world is not obliged to be Islamic. For me that's very important. It changes all my vision. If all Muslims think in that way, we go straight to Messianic times. First assessments are positive, and future is considered with hope and trust.
There are many things that can be improved, and I hope that this will be the first of future meetings in which we can improve it, but it's very historic. And so in terms of the happening itself, the event itself, it has exceeded my expectations.
Now we have started talking, so that's the beginning, that's the start, and from there we will build on our permanent institutions. We hope there will be a permanent body to look after various specific issues and also for general issues, and there will be administrative committee, and then there's a drafting committee, and things will move on. And I think that's really important that one should look into, that how we're going to move from talking to practicalities.
At the end of 3 working and debating days, Imams and Rabbis have written down a common and solemn declaration. Through the declaration, they essentially call politicals and people to reject any kind of violence and to keep on respecting their human rights. Furthermore, permanent big bodies are created in order to take concrete actions in that way. During these 3 days, Bruxelles remembered the incident in Andalusia. As we say in French, rabbis break the chains. They really are open-minded, and I'm really happily surprised.
Très agréablement surpris.
To me, it's really a wonderful experience to be able to see Jews and Muslims sitting together.
We have to speak to each other. We are not enemies, we are brothers.
We should open the gates of love and care for each other, and I think if these messages are practiced, things will change.
Something incredible is happening. Incredible. People that for the first time open their heart in public.
Pubblicamente aprono I loro cuori.
And I'm sure that the world will be better when Imams and Rabbis start working together.
I believe if Jews and Muslims can get together, that will be eternal peace on earth.